All right, folks. Hope you're having a great evening. I'm doing a later than usual live stream here. For those of you, raise your hand if you remember when I used to do Club Insomniac. I used to do the Insomniac live stream like really, really late. This would have been a couple years ago, I want to say. Go ahead and put your hand up if you recall those, if you ever were part of those. I think those were closer to midnight Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night in California. So 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes after midnight. So we're not that late. Big hug to all of y'all. Let me get right into this. Foxfield Farmer was there. Big hug to you. Patrick was there. All right, let's get right into this. I'm going to start off with one story, then get into the Maga backstabber story to give people a chance to get on here, because I did say I was going to start at 10:15 Eastern Standard Time, and now I'm starting at 10 o'clock a little early. But here's the thing that this is all frustrating news. So if you want to go to bed and not be frustrated, then I'm giving you a warning right now, so you can bow out. But one thing that President Trump, we love President Trump and what he does for our country, and he picks for the most part good people. No one's perfect, but man, when the deep state goes after somebody, and I'm not saying that we need to fold, they can find a person and just keep going after them. And even though we have confidence in President Trump and we have confidence in his people, we get to the point where we go like, man, not another person that's very close to President Trump that has all these flaws and making all these mistakes. And the person I'm talking about right now is Mike Waltz. So what's the latest? Here we go. Latest leak. Mike Waltz uses Gmail for official government communication. This is a national security advisor to President Trump. And now this whole expose. Of course, we had Signalgate, which is a big nothing burger, which they're hyping up and making into a mountain out of a molehill. But dude, why use Gmail for official government? Even if it's things, even if they're items that are of no significance. They say that there's no like top secret or classified information or confidential information. But why would you freaking use a Gmail for your official government business, especially when other people that you're emailing are using their .gov? It just is a bad look. Mike Waltz, obviously, this is not like he's new to this. He's been in Washington for a while. As a congressman, it's just so ridiculous what is going on here. And yeah, Susie Q, I don't want him. It looks like Mike Waltz is doing a great job with the Russia stuff and helping free these hostages and getting people back. He was key in all that kind of in those negotiations. But how do you go ahead and just do stupid ass things like this? Everyone knows you don't use Gmail. Like, that is totally unsecured email. And you sure as hell don't use it for government work. Now, this article is out of the Washington Post. Members of President Donald Trump's National Security Council, including White House National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, have conducted government business over personal Gmail accounts, according to documents reviewed by the Washington Post and interviews with 3 U.S. officials. The use of Gmail, a far less secure method of communication than the encrypted messaging app Signal, is the latest example of questionable data security practices by top national security officials already under fire for the mistaken inclusion of a journalist in a group chat about high-level planning for military operations in Yemen. Now, I don't know if this is something new or if this is something from before he became part of President Trump's advisory national security team. But folks, like, for instance, I probably should mention it, but I'll go ahead and mention it because I have more than one. But one of the ones I use is Proton Mail, very secure Swiss email system. And some people go like, oh, but you need Gmail because you need to be on the app on the go. You can integrate it with whatever you use for email. If you're going to use a non-government, shouldn't it be something more secure than Gmail? Or if you're in government, just use the government.gov to conduct government business. And there's a plethora of other secure ones you can use that have apps on both iPhones and also on my daily drive. I use this for work because this is all a Mac environment. But my personal daily driver, I like the Google Pixel. I know it's kind of funny. I'm telling you, I like the Google Pixel in Gmail's a Google product. But you know what I mean? Ridiculous, Mike Waltz. You just... And of course, the Washington Post is reporting on this because this is a concerted effort to bring down President Trump and weaken his team. But Mike Waltz is not helping us out here any now, is he? A senior Waltz aide used the commercial email service for highly technical conversations with colleagues and other government agencies involving sensitive military positions and powerful weapon systems relating to an ongoing conflict. While the National Security Council official used his Gmail account, his interagency colleagues used government-issued accounts, headers from the email correspondence show. Who's leaking all this stuff anyway? Obviously, there's people that are not that are against President Trump, that are on these emails, that are leaking them. Once again, the backstabbers out there. The backstabbers out there. And it's the same old crap time and time again. So... I don't know. Here's where I see President Trump saying Mike Waltz didn't do anything bad, doesn't have to apologize, and he's going to defend him because President Trump is not going to let the leftist press, the Mockingbird press, destroy Mike Waltz. And if and when he lets Mike Waltz go, it'll be on his terms. Remember, this is the same, but folks, this is the same playbook. They came after our friend Lieutenant General Michael Flynn from the very beginning over nonsense as well. You see, it's the same thing happening here. Same thing, a national security person for President Trump. But you just keep doing these things. And even we people who love and trust President Trump, even a person like me starts to question, is this really the guy you want in national security who keeps getting caught over and over again? And also, I'm not convinced that Mike Waltz is being completely transparent about his relationship with Jeffrey Goldstein over at The Atlantic. What are your thoughts? Put it down below if you're watching the replay. Put it in the chat. So Kathy Beatty says he's got to go. Kay Hartman says, "Oh, I'm sorry, folks. I'm not the backstabber I'm talking about. The main story is not this one. This is the preview story to let people to get on the live stream. Oh no. I'll tell you right now, the people that just screwed us over royally, Speaker Mike Johnson and Paulina Luna. I'm going to get to that in a second. AJ remembers Club Insomniac. He's got to go. Okay, that's strike 2. No strike 3. I'm sure Waltz knows better. Get him out. Yeah, so, I don't know. I don't know if Mike Waltz needs to go out, but it sure makes us question. Why the hell do you use a Gmail account to conduct government business? It's not like we didn't have a Hillary Clinton ordeal 8+ years ago. I mean, this should be obvious at this point. Okay, let's get into the backstabbers. Let me just play this audio so you can hear him say it himself. Very, very frustrating. Now, what's really incredible is here's one of the reasons why I like doing live streams. One, I love the energy that you guys give me. I love you very much. I love each and every single one of you because the same blood pumping through your veins is the same blood that God has given me. There's like barely any difference in our DNA. But also because you bleed these colors. You bleed these colors. Doesn't matter what we look like. Doesn't matter that you guys have no sense of scale. I am what they call it. They call short guys 5'7". Oh, he's a short king. Even a short king is taller than me at my 5'3". So it doesn't matter your height, doesn't matter your width, because would you believe I was 40 pounds heavier a year and a half ago? Doesn't matter which of the two genders you are because there's only two. You bleed these colors. You're my brother. You're my sister. I love you. And I appreciate you being here. Now, one of the reasons why I like doing the live streams is because sometimes it happens when you're doing cutting edge news. To do a pre-recorded report, I got to do a report, then I put it up, and then YouTube processes it. Then I go and put the timestamps. Then I go and put it's usually done before, but then I'll make sure we have the title, make sure we have the hashtags in it, and make sure we have a thumbnail that's attractive to you to have you click. By the time all that happens, it could be an hour or so from when the video is done to when you see it. And then if there's breaking news, it can happen so fast that whatever I just reported on is old news. Now, the report I dropped a couple hours ago was about the SAVE Act, that was supposed to happen and be voted on this week. And I spent, I don't know, a good 10 minutes on that because it's important. And I even put the original headline title was Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson in action, because he's been a lot of yap and not a lot of action. And finally, something was happening. And when people hear something I learned from one of my ecclesiastical leaders, he's what in my church we call, he was in a stake presidency. He was a regional church leader. And he said, when people don't always do the right thing, but they're doing the right thing, always encourage them. So if someone is repenting of something, so let's say that they're an alcoholic and they're trying their hardest to let go of alcohol, and they slip and they have their foibles, but they're really trying hard. You don't discourage them because they're struggling on the way to get better. You encourage them, you love them, you support them because they are trying to make their life better. They're trying to follow Jesus to the best of their capacity. This is a lesson I learned 20 years ago from this leader, and it stuck with me. It was very impactful. The Holy Spirit told me, this is something you need to live, James. So when I see someone like Mike Johnson, who I'm always reeling on because he's yappy, and not doey, and then finally he's doing something, I make this video. Mike Johnson's in action. We're going to get the SAVE Act. They're going to start voting on reeling in these activist judges. And then the whole damn thing falls apart, and it's so frustrating. And it happened just as the other video went up, because I made the other video hours and hours ago, and then by the time it went up, the whole thing got sabotaged. So let's listen to Mike Johnson in his sometimes annoying, whiny voice. And it's because, I shouldn't say whiny voice. It's just, I'm a doer, folks. I really get frustrated with people who are always yapping and not doing. Always yapping and not doing.
Well, it's a very disappointing result on the floor there. A handful of Republicans joined with all the Democrats to take down a rule that's rarely done. It's very unfortunate in this case. 96% of House Republicans voted against proxy voting because they believe it's unconstitutional, and they agree that it would open a Pandora's box. And so that's what we just saw. Let me just make this clear. That rule being brought down means that we can't have any further action on the floor this week. That means we will not be voting on the SAVE Act for election integrity. We will not be voting on the rogue judges who are attacking President Trump's agenda. We will not be taking down these terrible Biden policies with the CRA votes. All that was just wiped off the table. It's very unfortunate. We'll regroup and come back, and we'll have to do this again.
Okay, so let me back up for those not familiar with how this all went down. And I was following the story at a high level and not going into details. So I'm going to go a little bit more into details with you. So, Adele says April Fools. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. They April Fooled me. Literally made a video about Mike Johnson. Gonna get it done. We're gonna get the SAVE Act this week. And it blows up in my face. Blows up in our face. I don't take it personal. I take it personal for Maga because I want to keep America great. I want to make America great again. I want America to go back. I want America to be better than she's ever been, because I want us to be a hardcore constitutional republic. And we needed the SAVE Act. We can't have illegal aliens voting. We must clean up our voter rolls, and we must have voter ID, just like most of the Western world does. I think every country except for maybe one in Africa. And I think almost all, if not all, of Latin America. Even banana republics like Nicaragua have voter IDs. And I wanted them to look at impeachment and reining in these activist judges. But you just heard what he said. So this is what happened. Let me give you the high-level details. I agree with Mike Johnson that we should not have proxy voting. This is a scam that was started by Nancy Pelosi during the pandemic, and then they carried it on forever. I don't believe in proxy voting. The Constitution makes it very clear. I mean, obviously, they didn't have telephones back then, or computers, or Zoom, or Skype, or any of that stuff. But You have to have people present to have a quorum. You have to have numbers present to get things done. When Nancy Pelosi came up with her proxy voting scheme, and we've seen some major problems with this. We want people present. Well, Paulina Luna want it so that, and others want it, mostly Democrats. I think all the Democrats voted to kill the procedural bill because she wants that for the first 12 weeks, new mothers and fathers can vote remotely proxy. And Mike Johnson and other Republicans see this as not unconstitutional. And Paulina Luna made this her, and she's MAGA, man. Paulina Luna has been MAGA. But this always seems to be like this one, not always, often, there's like this one little thing that everyone fixates on. And it's, folks, when it comes to SAVE Act and stopping these activist judges, we don't have a week to spare. Paulina Luna screwed this one up. She shouldn't have pushed so hard for this one. She shouldn't have made the whole thing fall apart. Her and 8 or 9 other Republicans voted, and every Democrat voted for this, and then the whole thing came apart. Look, Paulina Luna, if you have every Democrat voting for you, with you on something, it's probably something that's not a good deal. House Speaker Mike Johnson abruptly canceled all votes for the remainder of the week, halting progress on critical conservative legislation, including the SAVE Act and measures to rein in rogue judicial activism, despite having full authority to keep the House in session. This is where Mike Johnson has screwed us over, and I'll get back to this. We didn't have to cancel the vote. This still could have gone forward. But here's what happened. Representative Paulina Luna, who I think we could all agree she is a rising MAGA star and a member of she used to be a member of the Freedom Caucus. She left the caucus over this proposal, which was co-sponsored by Democratic Representative Brittany Peterson. It gained traction through a rare discharge petition, securing discharge position of over 200 Democrats and 11 Republicans. And her departure stems from a fiery advocacy for you can call it a bipartisan measure, but it's like 11 Republicans and over 200 Democrats in the House that would allow new mothers and fathers in the House to vote remotely for 12 weeks following the birth of a child. A measure she described as modest and family-centered. Well, Mike Johnson wasn't having it. He didn't want it to have it in there. He didn't want to deal with this. He's not for it. And she made it her linchpin. She made it her deal to not only leave the Freedom Caucus over this, but also to torpedo what was going on. And this has been building up over days. She wanted this, and she made this the issue and made it about herself. And a lot of people are not happy. A lot of people are not happy about this. They're not happy with Paulina Luna. The move comes after a humiliating defeat on the House floor today when Johnson attempted to torpedo a controversial rule that would allow new parents in Congress to vote remotely. Luna, who's been locking horns with Johnson over this, celebrated the outcome as a historic day, crowning that parents deserve a voice in Washington. Okay, folks, this is where we may agree or disagree, and this may be where it's controversial for some people. Now, obviously, I have no problem, and I celebrate that we have women in the legislature. And I'm not saying that you should not have a family if you're going to be in the legislature. I'm not saying that. But there comes a point where if you know that, how do I say this? I'm not trying to be like politically correct here, folks. I'm not trying to be politically correct here, folks. And I'm sure not everyone's going to agree with me. But if you are going to be in a position for 2 years or 4 years, that's going to require all of your time, effort, and energy, especially in 2025. This is going to sound terrible. I'm not saying that you should not have children. I'm saying maybe you should come back to Congress later when you're not going to have a child and not be able to fully do your job. I feel the same way about the military. I feel the same way about many jobs. That if you can't dedicate yourself to that some jobs are a mission. They're not just a job or a career. And if you have competing things, and I think family is more important than politics. Maybe you shouldn't be in politics during your baby making years. I know it sounds terrible. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I want to hear from my sisters out there. I'm not talking about black women. I'm talking about regardless of your color. I want to hear from my sisters out there. What do you think? Jacqueline says, right. I mean, I'm not saying don't be in politics. I'm not saying don't have a family while you're in politics. I'm just saying there could be a conflict here. And now because of this, we don't have the vote for the rest of the week. Teaming up with Representative Brittany Pedersen, Democrat out of Colorado, who paraded her baby on the House floor today, the duo managed to rally 218 signatures, including 11 Republicans, to force the issue via a discharge petition. A discharge petition is a procedural tool that enables lawmakers to bypass leadership and bring a bill to the House floor if it secures signatures from a majority of members. Some conservatives are calling Representative Luna's tone deaf, selfish, and betrayal of the hardworking Americans they were elected to represent. Look, Luna, I'm all about families. I'm all about families. You could have pushed this one out to later. We needed this vote. Oh, did I mention that not only Mike Johnson said no more voting this week, but next week is only a 4-day work week, and then they have a 2-week recess going into Easter. This is what happens when you have a whole bunch of people that aren't used to working in the private sector. How many of you out there own your own businesses or are self-employed? Are there any of you out there? If you're self-employed and you have your own business, you know you don't just get to take time off. Sometimes, if you're a plumber, or if you're in certain things like you're in the military or you're in law enforcement, Shotgun Drums is, Lacey Calhoun is. Y'all know that when we have a business, you just don't have the luxury of just taking 2 weeks off because it's Easter or Christmas or what have you. You'd like to, and you hope you can take Christmas Day off and Easter Sunday and celebrate the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, or celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. I know. Some people get in the comments, he wasn't really born the 25th, it's pagan. I know, but it's still a beautiful thing, regardless of the date, to celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But for instance, one of my businesses is healthcare related. If a need comes up from a patient or a client and it's the 24th of December and I'm trying to eat tamales and abuelita's chocolate, I got to do what I got to do. And that sometimes is often the case when we're trying to save a country. We only have the next 4 years of President Trump. We have a lot of work to do, and every week counts. We only have 52 times 4. What's that, 104, 208 weeks? Man, this is frustrating. And then it's someone like Luna who you like and makes this pet issue of hers torpedo everything. But we can't lay all the blame on her because Mike Johnson can still do it. But here what some things people are saying. A selfish action by Congress led by Representative Luna. I'm disappointed because I had to go back to work 2 weeks after my 3 children because I couldn't afford to go without food for them. They really show their selfishness and show they don't care about their constituents. That was one reaction here. How about Cat Turd? We all like Cat Turd. You can find him at Cat Turd too. Quote, another week of Republicans caving to Democrats and Republicans in Congress getting nothing done to help Trump for another week is all that happened here. Another week of rogue judges destroying the MAGA agenda. The Republican Congress has done exactly 0 to even pass one of Trump's executive orders into law, while Trump works 100-hour weeks. Enjoy another week off. Man, I can feel the fire behind Cat Turd's tweet there. Freaking ridiculous, these people. Okay, not going to leave it all at Representative Luna. Not going to leave it all to blame on her. Because here is what we have. They this is what Speaker Johnson had said. A handful of Republicans just joined every House Democrat to take down a rule. This means we can't take any further action on President Trump's agenda this week. No SAVE Act, no vote to address rogue judges attacking Trump, no votes to repeal Biden regulations. Okay? But check it out. Check this out. Nothing prevents Speaker Mike Johnson from proposing a new rule without that provision. And he doesn't need to pass a new rule to bring up the SAVE Act. We've been talking about the SAVE Act since, I don't know. I mean, since it's been a while now, since last year. And finally, they're going to bring it to the floor for a vote. They're going to bring it forward to start debating on it and moving on it and voting on it. And also, nope, not till next week, a 4-day work week before a 2-week recess. According to congressional procedural experts and recent reporting, Johnson holds the power to bring up a new rule, resume floor action, and even prioritize the Republican agenda immediately. Jake Sherman over at Punchbowl News said, this is a choice, of course. They can bring up the SAVE Act at any time without a rule. They can go back to rules. It's only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They can still do stuff. They can at least advance it so they can come back on Monday and not start from where they are today, but be 3 or 4 days ahead. But nope, the House is done voting for the week. It's Tuesday, and now they're not going to do anything until Monday. So we have Maga Luna and questionably Maga Mike Johnson totally screwing us over yet again. Absolutely maddening. Absolutely maddening. What are your thoughts? I want to hang out with you folks here in the chat. Let me see what y'all have to say. Why, Johnson? Jacqueline asks. Why? Yeah, she's a new mother. She's a new mother. But if Pedersen can come out and pray to her baby, bring your baby over. That's kind of hard to fly with a new baby, right? I don't know the rules. I want to say that we flew with Juniorette when she was 2 weeks old. She was born, and then we bounced because I started my new job, and I had to move into my new apartment like within a few weeks after Juniorette was born. So I don't know. It just seems like she could have not made this the issue. The timing sucked. The timing sucked. Okay. Toots No Name says, "Oh James, you near made my life suggesting Mike Johnson even might do something good for President Trump." I know. Egg on, well, I can't say egg on my face. I don't control this stuff. I just know that on that previous report I did earlier today, I showed you, and actually I had these tabs open over like 20 different Republicans that were all like, let's go on the SAVE Act. And I probably read you 8 or 10 of them. I closed a whole bunch of them out because it was redundant. It looked like they were going to go all in on SAVE Act. And there's always something that gets us that sabotages it. And it's very disappointing that Representative Luna made this issue at this time what killed it. But you know what? We can't lay all the blame at her feet because Mike Johnson, if he were a true leader, would just regroup and move forward and not just go. You know, this reminds me of some damn, that kid, that little snotty-nosed kid who probably grew up to be a total a-hole. The snotty-nosed kid in elementary school who was a bully in junior high and a total douchebag in high school, pardon me, français. You know what kid I'm talking about. Oh, I can't have my way. I'm taking all my toys home with me. That's what Mike Johnson is reminding me of right now. So we're not going to have any vote on anything. Petulant, whiny, self-absorbed, self-centered Republicans. And folks, these are MAGA people on President Trump's side. With friends like these, who needs enemas and enemies? Okay. Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is putting Ed Martin on indefinite hold as Trump's nominee for the U.S. Attorney in District of Columbia. Democrat Senator Adam Schiff, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, announced he is placing a hold on President Trump's nominee for U.S. Attorney in D.C. Now, luckily, Ed Martin is currently acting as U.S. Attorney for D.C. But why is he doing it? I mean, this is the top cop position, the U.S. Attorney in D.C. A very, very swampy place. Well, remember, Ed Martin was the one that wanted to go after Chucky Schumer for threatening Supreme Court justices. And he was stopped from doing that. But you can see his heart is in the right place, and he is a man of action. He also announced his office will be charging and arresting individuals who threaten Elon Musk's Doge team. He's a wrecking ball, and Schiff doesn't like that. Quote, in every way he can, Ed Martin has demolished the firewalls between the White House and his own office within the Department of Justice. Confirming him to serve permanently in the role he has already abused in his interim capacity would cross the prosecutorial Rubicon that every single senator will come to regret and that would threaten the rights of Americans from all walks of life. So funny that Adam Schiff would have the cojones to say something like that as he is cheering on activist judges who are not even legislating from the bench. They are trying to be the commander-in-chief from the bench. I'm calming down. You guys are having a calming effect on me. Look, folks, look, I get riled up about politics because I'm about to be a grandfather. I don't want this country to be the vision, Obama's vision, Georgie Porgy Zorro's vision, the globalist vision. I want the America First, MAGA, limited government, quasi-libertarian vision of this country that I want, and at least get as close to that as possible. That's why I'm worked up. I'm 50 years old. What do I have? Another 40? Well, I know I'm going to live to be 94. I have another 44 years. I'm way past my midlife crisis. I'm more than halfway through my life. But my progeny is just getting started. And I want them to have this great republic. I want this country to be a great country for my children and grandchildren. Is that really a crime? Is that really a crime to be invested in these things? Now, this all goes, and our number one mission is to do right by our fellow man and to follow Jesus. That's the cure-all of everything, as far as your personal life is concerned. But we do live in this terrenal, this world. We do live in this terrestrial field, time and place at this juncture. And that's where we're at. Donna, thank you for the super chat. I hear Trump is really pissed. Yeah, I imagine he is. I imagine he is. And rightfully so. And I'm sure we'll have some White House fallout that I'll be reporting on tomorrow. And I want to end with this last story. It's a non sequitur. But since we're talking about frustrating losses, let me just cover this up so that tomorrow we don't have to talk about it. But China's blocking the Panama Canal port sale to BlackRock. I mean, we know what President Trump wanted, right? President Trump has portrayed Chinese-owned ports on the Panama Canal as threats to American national security because the Chinese military could potentially use them to shut down the canal. And then, of course, he was happy with the BlackRock deal, in which there was a $22.8 billion transaction between C.K. Hutchinson, which was controlled by a 96-year-old Hong Kong billionaire, Li Ka-shing, and BlackRock, and it involved 43 port facilities around the world. And it was supposed to conclude by tomorrow, April 2nd. And China, right before the weekend, killed it. And they said that it doesn't meet their approval and that the deal is not dead, but it has to be looked at. And they're mad that this 96-year-old Hong Kong billionaire that President Xi is supposedly upset that he didn't shoot it by him first. Hong Kong wasn't even supposed to be part of China yet, or I can't remember the original year that was supposed to be part of China, but that got moved forward. Trump had said last month, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it. Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal. President Trump won it, and Xi Jinping and the Chinese killed it right a few days before it's supposed to go in effect. So the ports on either end of the canal are not going to be at BlackRock. Not that I love BlackRock. Okay, Hartman, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. I appreciate you folks' generosity. But there you have it, folks. Enemies within and enemies without. And folks, and let me just make this clear. This is my last statement. These are not Trump's enemies. These are America's enemies. And I don't want to call Paulina Luna, an enemy. I don't want to call Mike Johnson an enemy. I don't know what would be a proper term. Very flawed allies. But it would be nice if we had people that could just, I don't know, maybe private sector people like Trump, like Elon Musk, that when they hit, when you're in business, when you work for yourself or you work for a private company, not the government, right? I'm not saying you have to own the business, but if you have any sort of leadership in the private sector, what happens? You hit a wall. You hit a wall. Then you figure out how to go around it, how to go under. You figure something out. You try to figure it out. In government, they just fold. I guess we'll come back next week. Absolutely ridiculous. Norman Lee Smith Music. Much love, brother. Thanks for the update. To hear my song, check out Spotify. Okay. Let me I'll check out your music. Let me screenshot this so I can. So, folks, craziness. Jacqueline Baxter, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. God bless you, James and family. Yeah. I ended up not going to the movies, and they just got home because I want to do this live stream. That's where we're at, folks. It's frustrating. But once again, these are just battles, and we know that we are going to get bloody-lipped. We're going to get teeth knocked out. This is going to be, this is a squabble. This is a scrum. This is us fighting tooth and nail all the way to the end. And it's going to be like that for the other 22 months, 21 months, whatever it is left in this 47th administration. And the roadblocks are going to come not just from the Marxist left, but unfortunately from within MAGA as well, which we have seen. All right, folks, thanks for being here with me. I'll have more reporting for you. I'm going to end this live stream, but I'll hang out in the chat for a little while with y'all. So stick around. Love you very much. Don't forget to check out my other show, bcpextras.com or therealbcp.com. I'll be back tomorrow. Everyone have a good night's sleep. Hasta mañana.